Hi, on another episode of Dr. George Advice. We're going to talk today about 4 very important things you need to do before getting into a property sale agreement with the seller of a property. So let's get into it. Now, those 4 very important things which we're going to expand on later on are: number 1, get the appropriate seller or real estate agent willing to give you the required documents to verify the status of the property. Number 2, conduct a title search for the property. Number 3, conduct a property appraisal. And number 4, verify that the terms of the property sale agreement are fair. So let's expand on that. So the first thing is you need to find the appropriate real estate agent or a seller that will allow you to have access to key documents for the process. The key documents in this case are existing deeds and the cadastral drawing for the property. You need access to these things. You need to be able to accumulate some information about this property before you even sign that agreement. If you don't do that, you will be actually signing an agreement not knowing anything about the property. So the second and third steps that we're going to be talking about will be significantly tied to this first step of having a real estate agent or a seller who is willing to give you the required documents to conduct your investigation on the property. So if you cannot get a real estate agent or a seller that is willing to give you the required documents like the deeds and the cadastral drawing, you can't move forward with the purchasing procedure. There's nothing else you could do. I will not advise anyone to go forward signing any agreement to purchase any property unless they have access to the deeds and the cadastral drawing for that property. If you cannot have it, if you have a seller or a real estate agent which are telling you pay down 10% before you get the deeds and the cadastral drawing, that's a red flag and you should stop right there. Only move forward if they are willing to give you the required documents to conduct the investigations that I'm going to talk to you about very soon. The second thing is a title search. It's very important to do a title search, and to do this you have to utilize the deeds that would be made available to you by the seller of the property. And there are a number of reasons you need to do a title search. Number 1, you want to make sure that there's no encumbrances on the property. What that is, it means that it's not caught up in a mortgage, or there's no other claims on the property. It's free of all claims or any mortgages. So normally you would have a lawyer who will be able to do that search and find out if that's the case, if it's free of any claim. Second, the lawyer would do a search to determine if the seller of the property is the rightful owner of the property. Now, to do that, you have to do a search where you actually examine a number of deeds. You may see along the way deeds of assent, which is a deed that is done to actually transfer the property from the estate of a deceased person to the intended heir. You may also see deeds of gifts. Next thing you could see is a deed of conveyance. If it was purchased by the seller purchased the property, and there will be a deed of conveyance which more or less results in them actually having rightful ownership of the property. So those 3 things may come up. Then the third step is a property valuation, and that also depends on information from the first step. So you would have to submit to a valuation company the existing deeds and the cadastral drawing. And the reason why we need this is if you are going to access a mortgage loan, the lending institution wants to make sure that the property has equity. What we mean by that, the best case is that the selling price, or let's say the appraised value, is much higher than the selling price. So what you want is the appraised value to be much more than the asking price. Therefore, the property has equity, and therefore it becomes very easy. And you could only do that if you have the required documents to do the appraisal. And you need to do that appraisal before you sign any agreement. a lot of mistakes that persons make is they sign the agreement and then go and do a title search and then go and do an appraisal. And then they're surprised when they realize the appraised value is less than the asking price. And then they're in a funny position where their ability to get that balance is in jeopardy. The fourth step is to set any additional requirements or terms for that sales agreement, that property sale agreement between the seller and the buyer. You may need to add some terms to make it a bit more comfortable for you to go ahead with that transaction. First thing, negotiate with the seller how much down payment you should put down. And if you could get them to accept 5% of the asking price, that's going to be good. And make sure that it's in the agreement 5%. Second thing is, how long do you have to pay the balance of the asking price? You're going to pay 5% in down payment now. You're going to be required to pay 95% in how much time? Now, sometimes the seller may actually have a fixed time that they're comfortable with. They may say 3 months. That's okay. If they say 3 months is okay, but make sure that there is a clause that allows for an extension of that time in the event that the credit union or the bank or whichever institution requires more time to be able to issue the loan. And if 3 months is up but they need 1 more month, that extension clause would be able to be executed, and therefore you get an extra month or 2 months. If that clause is not there, if 3 months passes and you do not pay the balance, then the seller has all rights to take your deposit and move on. Avoiding these 4 steps going to land you into problems. Implementing them going to put you in a very good position of not having to deal with any headache associated with not doing it. So, don't forget to subscribe. I'm seeing some of my videos with hundreds and thousands of views, and I'm not seeing the same amount of subscriptions. Before you leave, subscribe now. This is key information. You're gonna have to pay for this information. You're gonna have to pay thousands for this information elsewhere. So subscribe. Don't leave without subscribing, and also like the video. Tell your friends. You have friends that family who are gonna purchase property. Send them right here. And I hope that you enjoyed this. We have a lot of videos in store for you, and I'll see you on the next one.